Hey Ram fam, RamZone starts right now.
ASU sports fans, welcome to RamZone. Now your host, Cameron Allen.
Hey guys, it's this week's episode of RamZone, and this week we've got Coach Travis McCorkle of the women's soccer team here at Angelo State. Had a little bit of trouble finding the third floor, finding our office especially. It's a maze up here on the third floor, Coach.
Well-kept secret.
But glad you got here just in time, and I guess we'll go ahead and start out with your background, playing career, and how your coaching career led you here.
Playing career, when I was back in the olden days, we didn't have varsity soccer in high school, so I played club team. From there, I went to college, kind of the same thing. They didn't have a varsity team there at the school, Mesa State, where I went to. So we played in club team, and I played and coached that team. And while I was doing that, the high school, one of the local high schools, asked if I would be an assistant for the women's team, for the girls' team there. And so I helped out with that. And then after a couple seasons, I became the boys' head coach there at that high school. And then after that, I was a director of coaching for a club in Grand Junction, Colorado. And then after that, before that, actually, I played at Metro State. I went for a scholarship there, and I thought that was going to be the best thing for me. And then I thought I was in love, and so I went back to Mesa State and didn't stay at Metro. But got involved with coaching, director of coaching there in Grand Junction. And then after about 7 years, my wife said, maybe you should look at something else, kind of, dealing with a lot of parents and boards and that kind of thing. And so I got my master's, and I came here in 2001, was the assistant coach 2001 to 2003. 2003, I went to Eastern Mexico, started the women's team there, brand new team. And then they wanted to start the men's team, so I did that in 2004. And I was there for a total of 5 years, and then came back here in 2008, and I've been here since.
And you've coached men's and women's soccer teams.
Yeah.
Is there a major difference between the two? I know some sports that have both male and female, there can be differences.
Yeah, there are some differences. I think on the women's side, they're a little bit more thoughtful of the things away from the game. Mm-hmm. In the game, there are some technical differences as far as there's not too many females that are at our level that are hitting the ball from touchline to touchline, 75 yards, just the physical strength. And then there's, people would argue about the physical speed and that kind of stuff. But the game is still the game. So it might be a little bit smaller version as far as the technical range of the players, but it's still the same thing. The players have to make the same decisions. Their technique can be the same. So really, there's just a few little things, some off-the-field things, and like I said, maybe some technical range issues having to do with strength. So.
And all the places you've coached, and you're still here at Angelo State.
Yeah.
You've been here a long time.
I love the team. I love working with women's college soccer. Mm-hmm. I think it's a great fit for me. I really enjoy kind of the on and off the field part of coaching the women. And so trying to build relationships and, stay connected with them beyond when they graduate here and move on into the real world.
And you talk about how they can be more thoughtful of off-the-field things. Mm-hmm. What are maybe some struggles or some benefits of coaching student athletes and balancing that academic and athletic life that they have to kind of ride the line of?
Well, in the fall semester, for example, it's a little bit difficult when the girls are getting toward the end of the semester and there's so much pressure on them academically. And then at the same time, for us, it's also when we're in the playoffs, in the conference tournament, the NCAA tournament, regional, whatever it is. And so that's a lot of pressure on sometimes an 18-year-old girl that's trying to figure things out versus, you say a 22-year-old woman. They're kind of in that process. But it can be a physical struggle, just getting enough sleep, eating right. And then there's the whole mentality part, if they're having struggles in their performance or maybe just a moment within their performance, how to shake that off and move on. And that's where sometimes you're asking about the difference between coaching men and women. Guys, because our ego is so much bigger, we can brush off mistakes and we're like, yeah, that was yesterday or that was the last play. I'm good now. Sometimes I would say that there's a belief that the women kind of hold on to that a little bit longer. It takes them longer to really get over it and believe that they're better than that one moment where they struggled.
And they balance the student and athletic life, and the school here does a great job of helping athletes with their academics. I also wanted to know your thoughts on some of the strengths and unique aspects of Angelo State as a school.
Well, some of them, just talking about the strengths and kind of challenges, I think that the nursing program here does an excellent job preparing their students to become, full-time nurses. it's a big challenge for us athletically because the girls just can't get away from it. They got to do clinicals, and they're all day on a particular day, and the nursing program doesn't really concern themselves about the soccer schedule, with our practice schedule, or even our game schedule. And so that can be challenging. We work around that the best that we can. But the nursing program is a great program, and we've been able to work it out with all of our girls. It's just a challenge. But we have lots of girls in the nursing program. We have a lot in education, in business and marketing. We've had quite a few probably in psychology, a few in ag. So they're kind of spread out, the normal spectrum that you would get from the rest of the student population here at Angelo State.
And also, you're bringing in girls that are 18, and then you'll have some that could be up to 22 with the COVID year 23. Do you maybe have some bonding activities to help with team chemistry that maybe you set up, or do you just leave that to the team?
We set up a lot. Some of it's set up through us indirectly, and some's directly. So we have a former professor here, in Dr. Warren Simpson, that works in the kinesiology department, was the chair of the graduate students, I believe. One of his areas of specialty is team psychology, and so he's worked with our team a lot. I would say after the first year that he got here, he's been a part of our program throughout his entire time until he recently retired. But we do that. We also do things during Captain's Week, which is a week the girls come in before our season begins, and we go through a bunch of different things. Most of that is guided by the players, but those are also things where, again, they get to know the people, and it's not just about the forward or the goalkeeper or the defender, and that's really important for them to kind of get that connection, because the deeper the connection, the better the trust is. The more the trust is, the better the team performs.
And do you have a coaching staff? Y'all have to be on the same page just like all the players are. Do you maybe have some stuff you do with your other fellow coaches just to get y'all on the same page outside of athletics?
We do some things. Even this last year, like during preseason, we had called Bentwood Country Club and asked them, said, hey, you guys have some pickleball courts. I think the girls would love to play, if we could borrow some paddles. And, one day the girls went out there, and that was great. And obviously the staff is participating with that. We also do some things. I go to lunch usually once a week or so with Harold. I go to lunch mostly other days with Coach Brooks with baseball. I used to go with Troy Hill from the athletic training department. But we do some stuff like that. With our graduate student, Kira Miller, it depends. She's got a busy schedule with work and, trying to balance everything else. That's been a little bit difficult. But Avery McNamee that was here before, we would go and talk and chat. A lot of our interaction is on the bus when we're traveling, and you can get a lot of conversations in during that time when you're on a 6-hour drive to Laredo.
And you talked about how you have lunch with Coach Brooks pretty often.
Mm-hmm.
And I always ask all the coaches, there's been a winning environment built here at Angelo State. Do you ever collaborate with coaches of other sports to kind of help their team, and they'll help you just kind of get some ideas going about helping?
Yeah, I think we run things by each other all the time. So, Coach Brooks is probably the one that I talk with the most. I talk with Coach Ellis with women's basketball quite a bit. So it just kind of depends on, with baseball, it's not that I'm trying to get insight into baseball knowledge. I'm trying to get insight into, team management or recruiting or, just other things along those lines that maybe I can benefit from some of his expertise. And hopefully I've got some ideas that he thinks are worthwhile as well.
Mm-hmm. And Coach Brooks and some of the other coaches, they all played college ball.
Mm-hmm.
You played at Metro and La Mesa.
And at Mesa State, yeah.
Mesa State.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, how do you use your playing time to maybe help you into coaching the soccer?
Some of it, obviously it's been a while for me, but some of it is we're trying to empathize with the players. We can kind of read through the players' nonverbals and stuff, little things like when they need a water break, maybe in training. We try and do one in between each activity, but sometimes we even add some extras. But also just their fatigue and the schedule in the year. And so, sometimes we'll throw in a day of where we'll play team kickball. We have a kickball championship each year. Usually we do it in the spring, but sometimes we've put it into the fall. And again, that's just when you're reading that the girls are fatigued and they need something that is not going to be as physically draining and also mentally is a free day. Yeah. So like we said, the pressure that they get from their academics, sometimes they need a little bit of a break, and sometimes that has to come in this season. It doesn't fit well for me and what I need, but it has to happen because that's what the girls need at that time.
And that sounds like great from you, Coach. And I was wondering, would you maybe label yourself as a player's coach when you kind of talk about yourself?
I hope so. I've never really asked the players that, so I don't know how I'm perceived in that way. I think, again, it matters in how much we interact with them away from the field. If you only interact with the players on the field or in a strict office meeting setting, then I think you're a coach's coach, maybe, if that's the term.
Yeah.
And I think if you're a player's coach, I think you try to make efforts to connect with them beyond them as soccer players. So you're trying to find out a bit. And every player is different. Some players, I mean, I just had a meeting with a player, and she probably spoke, I'm exaggerating, but spoke 5 words during the meeting, like just isn't a talker.
Yeah.
And then I'll have other ones, and I'll barely be able to get in a word in edgewise. You know, they just talk and talk and talk. And so it's different. And you have to customize and personalize each person's interactions to try and get the most out of them.
And you've been coaching here for a long time. Plenty of athletes you could talk to about things like that. But I also want to talk about, you're the winningest coach in Angelo State history. What does that mean to you and all the awards you've won over the years?
Part of it is I'm probably getting older. Part of it is I've been here longer than anyone else. I think part of it is also the some of the changes that we tried to implement that have worked out well for us in trying to make changes to the culture, maybe change some of our recruiting ideas and what we're trying to pursue in student athletes. Some of it is in the daily training sessions that we do, you know, being able to clearly communicate our ideas or the best that we can in order so that they can implement those options in games and in training and practices. But yeah, I mean, and I also think that the student athletes, I mean, they get the biggest credit for that. They're the ones that have to go out and grind it out in the summertime when it's 110 degrees outside in Texas, and they've got to do their summer workout book, you know, trying to be in shape so when they show up, you know, we only have this year we'll have 2 days before our first scrimmage. So soccer is one of the shortest preseasons. Unfortunately, I think it leads to also some injuries that happen, you know, but it is what it is, and it fits the time frame that fits in the college scene, and so we do the best we can, and I think that we've done a good job over the years as far as, you know, helping players put all of their potential into action and get results in games.
You give your players the credit for being the winningest coach here at Angelo State, and you talked a little bit about the recruiting process, and you've had many players receive awards. What goes into your recruiting process, looking at just a player, trying to find the right one to fit with your team and be the best athlete?
Yeah, so, I mean, we're looking for players that fit the positional needs that we have. And then also some of the secondary things that we're looking for is we're looking for their personality. We're looking for their tendencies when we're playing, even though I might be recruiting, like, let's say, an attacking center midfielder. In a lot of teams, people would think, well, that player is an attacking center midfielder. It's not a defender. But one of the things that we pride ourselves that we think that makes us a little bit different is the pride that we have in defending. And that is that as soon as we lose the ball, that instant, immediate change from attack to defending happens. And then it's active and it's aggressive, and we're trying to win the ball back. We don't want the other team to build confidence and try and build success upon success within the game. And so some of the things that we look for, players that are going to work hard. Players that understand also, I think, their ability to deal with mistakes and frustrations and how well they can turn that from, you know, well, I'm upset about this and, you know, woe is me, you know, I don't know what to fix it. You need to tell me what to fix. Well, we want the players that are going to try and actively correct or improve whatever they're doing within the game. And that's a big thing. If we find players that don't have that don't do the summer workout book, that are just relying on genetics for, you know, hopefully being fit or hopefully being able to be a little bit faster than somebody, that player won't grow while they're here. It just doesn't happen. They've been that super athlete. Genetics have blessed them. And so they were a star. When they were 12 years old, they were kicking butt and taking names, right? And then they get a little bit older and some other players start getting faster and, you know, maybe their technique hasn't developed as much. They tend to not do as well. They kind of might hit that peak sometime during high school. And then when they play against athletes that are just as good as them, if they haven't learned enough, they won't have the same impact that players that are always hunting for ways to improve, hunting for ways to solve problems. They watch video and they say, what are these teams doing and how can I be more successful? Or they watch it with a critical eye and they say, what am I doing that I'm doing wrong that I can change that will have the biggest impact? And so all of those things contribute to the players' success here at ASU. And then, like I said, the staff, we do the best that we can with trying to provide input, trying to provide the best practices that cover the areas that we need to improve to be successful in the Lone Star Conference.
and you're looking for people who are going to go out there. They're going to give their best on the field, but they also give their best in the classroom. You all have had a high GPA over your years of being here. What does that mean for you individually, not just as your player?
Well, this is another area where women are, stereotypically better than men. They tend to get better grades. They're a little bit more. They're a little bit more focused in that category. So, in that part, we don't spend as much time having to background check that stuff. We also don't get a ton of transfers. So there's some things that like basketball and football deal with it, and baseball that I don't really deal with that much. But the academic part, we're looking for people that are getting, good test scores, going to fit in academically here at ASU, and ones that we're not going to have to work, overly monitor and push. And when we have to do that a lot, that's usually a sign for me that if they can't do it there, they're probably not doing it preparing for the season physically and all those other things. So it's one of the reasons why occasionally we do have to part ways with a player. And some of them have been the right decision for that player. It's been painful for them in the moment, but we've talked to them and said, listen, the most important thing is that you get your degree. That's what's going to impact the next 50, 60, 70 years of your life. So it's so important. We value soccer and we want to push them to do well, and we try and ride that line of between soccer and academics. But when the academics aren't right, they've got to change. And there's ways that they can do that here where they can correct it and still stay part of the team. I think a big part of the success that our players have had sometimes have been the players on our team. They've already been in that class. They've already worked with that professor. They know what that person wants. They know how to help them to be better academically. And our team is probably, in addition to the professors themselves, our team is probably one of the best resources that we have here at ASU for success in the classroom.
And I wanted to also talk about your athletes you spoke about during summer. They're getting ready for the season. Baseball has some of their players play travel ball up in Indiana. I believe some of your soccer players do as well.
Yeah, it's not quite as organized. The women's side has a little bit less opportunities. And so because of that, it's a little bit harder for them to find. So like we've had girls that have played in, I think it's called the WPSL, which is kind of a semi-pro. Semi-pros used loosely. The coach might getting paid a little bit of money. The players might get some of their meals or something, but they're not making money. They're not taking home money. But with that, they can get just kind of keep the flow going with their development. Maybe their coach might try and present something to them in a different way that maybe clicks for them. Maybe they try a different position. But the biggest thing is to make sure that they're just sharp technically, that they don't have to restart their fitness tracking. In a soccer player, you were mentioning before, off the air, it's year round. You just can't, a month before the season say, all right, it's about to start. I need to start getting in shape. In college soccer, if you're trying to get in shape 3 weeks, 4 weeks before the season, you're not going to be where you need to be. And then what happens is the players that have done the right thing are at the top level, and the players that haven't are slightly below. So then as you continue through the season, the player that was lower is saying, I'm getting where I need to be fitness-wise. The problem is that everybody else that came in better is going to continue to stay above them. So the players that started a deficit have to do extra work. And again, that goes into the mentality, and that's the stuff that, again, I look for. When I talk to a coach, I'm asking questions about that more than about their technical ability, because that's a judgment thing. But when I talk to club coaches or when I'm talking with the players, I'm trying to figure out their mental approach to how much work they do on their own. If they're going to be pushing themselves, then they'll get better. If they're not, they probably won't get to be where we want them to be.
And this may be backtracking a bit. I wanted to go back to maybe the recruiting process a little bit. Y'all play is it at the same season as the high school soccer season?
No. Well, not in Texas. In Texas, the high school season is in the winter. So it starts I think, middle of December, maybe beginning of December. They have some scrimmages. And then the bulk of their season is from January to April. Ours is August to November. First week in December is the national championship.
Some coaches have trouble whenever they're trying to recruit kids because they play at the same time as them.
Yeah.
So I guess that makes it a little easier on y'all trying to recruit players. Do you ever go out and maybe watch matches?
There are some times during the season when we go. Generally, I send my assistant, Harold Munoz, who, again, he's amazing. He is the one right now that is basically like our recruiting coordinator. He gets all the players, tries to get them all in front of us so that we can see them and bring them on campus and have them, see our amazing facilities that we have, the city, the program, the players, meet with them, talk with them. And so, we we're going to some of those things during our season, but primarily it's off season. The other part that impacts a great deal is how common video is, which again seems funny for you. You're probably like, yeah, what's the big deal? But I remember having a dual deck VHS where we would record games and then we would create highlights by playing the tape, and then we would copy and paste, or not copy and paste, but we would press record, and then, you know, it's much different now. Video is so easy to get, and the quality of it's so much better than it used to be. So that really helps fill in some gaps for us.
And you've been coaching long enough where you had to deal with some of the VHS, copying, recording it, transferring it.
Yeah.
Technology in the recruiting and coaching process, how has that helped you over the years?
Well, I mean, now we get players, we get international players that we haven't seen in person, and we've seen in a video that we feel like that we're comfortable enough that we're going to take that chance and bring that player in. And, you know, one of the recent one we had was Bianca Troost from Holland.
Yep.
And she came over here, and everything was set up. We did everything right, and then she gets here, and she comes in January so she can get a head start. And then March, COVID hits. And then she was a 1-year kid. It was like just going to do that. And luckily for us, we were able to stretch out her 1-year MBA program, and she stayed another season. So she did get to play with us in that spring season that we played the next year. So it turned out to be okay. But anyways, to your point, just being able to see players from all over the world. And then, like I said, the quality and being able to get good quality. Because sometimes if the quality's bad, if I'm looking at a TV screen and I'm looking at ants, I can't see what the feet are doing, you know. So the quality is much better, and we get enough of it, and pretty much it's available for 90% of every game that any high school kid's going to be playing.
And you talked about your foreign player that you had recruited, the COVID season, which y'all had to play in spring of 21. Right. Y'all went 10-0 overall, 5-0 in conference. How would you think, or maybe what would you have thought if that was just a full season, how exciting that season would have been?
Here's the great part. So we talked before about fitness and how important it is to be ready and not get injuries or whatever. So for that season, we had the fall to get ready. We had time we came back in the winter to get ready, get a couple of scrimmages. We're playing 1 game a week. Our injuries we still had some. Kira Miller, our All-American goalkeeper, was out for a while. Bianca had experience. She plays for the national futsal team in the Netherlands. So that helped out. And then we had Casey Crawford, but then Casey Crawford broke her, I don't know if that was her clavicle. I think that was her clavicle. So without Bianca, we would have been in trouble. Yep. But my point is that those were kind of weird injuries, you know, but really we were fairly injury-free because we didn't have as many games and they were spread out. But yeah, that was an amazing season. Great time. I think we gave up 2 goals all season. Went undefeated. We lost the coin toss, which I'm still putting in air quotes because I'm not sure I believe the conference actually flipped the coin. I think they just wanted to host it in Dallas where it was convenient for them. But somehow we lost the coin toss. We had to travel them. But that was the start of something special. Not the start. There's been a couple other times. But like President Hawkins was able to come. That was his first, I think, the first athletic contest that he had been to. Yeah. And so he got to see us win that game in double overtime. We went on golden goal, and it's a pretty special feeling. And it does kind of make it special when you're at somebody else's place because, you know, our fans, we doubled their fans there. Yeah. It was incredible. It was a great feeling.
I had that one right here on the paper of questions.
Yeah.
The shutout against top-ranked Dallas Baptist.
Yeah.
That was great. Y'all scored, I believe, 20 goals to 2. Was that the total?
I don't remember how many we scored. I know we only gave up 2. And I think that we had, I forget how many shutouts we had, but again, had a lot of shutouts in there. We only give up 2 goals out of 10 games. So we had at least 8, right? Maybe 9. Least. So, maybe. Yeah.
But that's an incredible season.
Yeah.
And it just hurts that it didn't get to be a full season to see what really could have been. But y'all still undefeated. You were Lone Star Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
How was that award? Receiving
I was good.
That?
5th time I've been the Lone Star Conference Coach of the Year. We actually were chosen as the Regional Staff of the Year and the NCAA D2 National Staff of the Year as well that year. So it was nice. It's nice to get recognized for your hard work, but I mean that always just comes with winning, and so that obviously that drives us because we want to win. But there's also a lot of coaches that have done a really good job that haven't gotten that. They've still done a great job. It's just it comes down to winning for a lot of those things. So we were fortunate and happy to get that recognition for us as a staff, but also for the program. Really is what it helps with.
And that season was probably a great memory for you just overall. I want to know, is there maybe a season where there was a lot of adversity that y'all had to face and you still came out with a positive outcome and it just really helped y'all out?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be different seasons. I don't know that I would say one. I mean, there was an early one back, I want to say it was like 2010 or 11. We had some issues with some of the players in the team. We had to make some changes within the team when the season was done and let some players go. And you never like to do that as a coach. I never, ever want to dismiss a player from the team. But sometimes it doesn't fit, you know. Yeah. And I think when you have to do that, it's a little bit of a reflection of we maybe missed the mark, too, with recruiting. And so if we do a good job, we hopefully don't have to have too many cuts. And I think when you look back at the career that I've had here and how many players we've cut overall in that length of time, you know, I would guess that it's been less than a player a year. I think that's pretty good. If you look at other teams, I would guess that that's probably less than what some others do. But yeah, there's been some challenges. I mean, this last season was a challenge. I mean, yeah. I don't know if I've lost 5 games in a row since I left Eastern New Mexico and started here at Angelo State. I don't know if we've done that, and this year we did do that. So a first, I guess, of sorts. We had given up 17 goals, I think. The year before, we had given up 19 the entire season, and we had given up 17 like in the first, I don't know, maybe 10 games. So huge challenge for us. I mean, we're pulling our hair out, racking our brains. You know, we're trying different things. The hard part was, you know, we're on the road. We're playing some of the best teams in the RMAC. Colorado Mine's been one of the best teams in the country for a long time. And, you know, so we're dealing with that. And then we go to Durango, and we're on a 13-hour joyride on the bus to get there. And so legs are tired, and we make some bad decisions in the second game. The first game I thought we played okay. We just didn't convert a couple of the chances that we had. And we had some issues with defense. So we said, listen, we're a few games into the season. We need to make change. And so we moved one of our midfielders, wide midfielders, into the back line, Nelia Coleman. And then we moved Caitlin Heisey from defensive center mid back into center back. And then it took us 3-4 games, but we started doing better. Yeah. And in the last 8 games of the regular season, I think in the first game of the conference tournament, we allowed 1 goal in the last 8 games. So, again, challenging, but this is where the coaches get paid to make changes. And, you know, it comes down to the players' performances, but if there's things that we can do to tweak and twist and turn and manipulate, and, you know, we do everything we can, and it never ends for us. We're always, even that season we're undefeated, do I need to move somebody else here? Do I need to change the minutes and shift more to somebody else? And so it's always, we're trying to get the most out of everybody we can in every second of every game.
And you talked about how you have to do your job, and you've done a great job over the years being here.
Thank you.
And we should have talked about this earlier, save the best for last. Just got a new locker room, new building right there by the soccer field.
Right.
What does that mean for the soccer?
Well, we hope that it's going to be something that the girls that are here really take a lot of pride in and appreciate what they've been given, because not everybody has what we have in that facility. It's incredible. It has so many different things that help the players, has so many things that just helps with our recruiting. And it's not just that, too. I mean, in that same moment, we've added this bell out in front, so when we score, we're going to go ring that. We get a win, we're going to go ring that bell. It's a social media little eye thing where players can come in and take their little picture under that. It has the field in the background. So it has that. We've added a brand new scoreboard that's probably, I don't know, between 30 and 50% bigger than the one we had before. It's much brighter. It looks nice. It's brand new. The stands, I mean, we talk about what the players have, but the stands, I mean, we have done on purpose to make our fans more comfortable. You know, we have the covers. So if it's 110 degrees out, we've got shade all the time for the fans. If it's raining, we have protection for the fans. We have a sound system that comes into the fans rather than just having the fans try and listen to what's bouncing back off the other buildings around. All those things are to create the best possible atmosphere that we can for the program, to show the players that we care about them. We want them to have the best things that we can so they can win. And then how all of that feeds into our recruiting and trying to bring in always the best players that we can.
And I remember when they broke ground for that, had the shovels, everything. I got to go out there.
Yeah.
That was actually the first time I interviewed you.
Yeah.
You might not remember that.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been about a year.
I had way longer hair.
Okay.
It looked awful.
Okay.
Bad bowl cut. But how does that help the recruiting process? I'm sure it helps a ton for them to see the new facility y'all get right there.
Yeah, I mean, there's just, like I said, there's just so many little touches in there. We've got, you know, really nice quality lockers with an electronic digital code that they can use to that they can use to unlock their locker. Inside their locker, there's an outlet, you know, 2 outlets with the USB and USC locker or plug-ins. They've got a little place underneath where they can put their cleats. Out by the back door, they've got a place where they can hang their cleats. They've got a drink refrigerator that's for game day where we, families donate money so we can get Gatorade and the snack for them. The equipment room is twice the size of what our previous was. The locker room itself is at least twice as big. It's got a huge 7-foot large logo on the roof that's illuminated. We've got blue LED lights around the lockers so we can give this really cool atmosphere. When recruits come in, they walk, we kind of slow roll open that door, and the first thing is just like, wow, this is just amazing. And it's right there at the field. So the thing is, they can go there, they can hang out, they can eat meals together. When I talked earlier with you about getting to know people and spending time with them, building trust, again, the more time they spend in that locker room together, the more that they can build and trust. And again, when you have a conflict with somebody you don't know, you're just like, just shake your hands and you're like, I'm done with them. I don't care about them. When you know that person, when they feel like family, you can't escape family. Yeah. You got to work through it. And so that's some of the stuff. And then the history of the program. We've put pictures of every team that we could find from 1995, from the very first team to current. We've got all of our big posters up there of our all-region and all-American players. There's a lot that we want to honor, the past and the present, and hopefully try and impact the future of ASU soccer.
Yes, sir. We'll save the best topic for last because we've run out of time, is what they're telling me. But, guys, this was our second to last episode. We've got one more episode next week with the volleyball coach. I just want to thank Coach McCorkle for being here today, and I hope y'all see us next week, Thursday at 12:30.